What's up, dog? It's episode 31 of For Our Edification. Thanks so much for joining me on this episode of For Our Edification. I'm Eddie Francis. For Our Edification is a podcast where we learn to lead others by leading ourselves. And if you want to get past episodes of For Our Edification, make sure you go to eddiefrancis.com. You can also check out some episodes on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So when my family said that they wanted to get a dog, all I could talk about is how much work it would be on us. Who knew? Who knew that getting a dog would actually teach us more about ourselves? You know who knew? Wilfred Hester. He is a dog trainer. And when Wilfred talked to us about training our dog, he talked much more about training the people than actually training the dog. We're going to find out how that works. The views and opinions expressed on For Our Edification do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the hosts, guests, or any entities with which we are affiliated. Joining me on For Our Edification is the man who lives a dog's life. His name is Wilfred Hester. He is the founder and owner of Woofred Dog Training. And man, Will, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast, and it's going to be an interesting conversation. I'm going to try to stay away from as many dog jokes as I can. Okay, I'm going to try. But I just want to start off with this really interesting thought, just to kind of set it up, because one of the things we really like to talk about on the podcast is the value of identity, and I have learned a lot about myself with the dog, with Miss Allegra. So let's talk about you though. Okay. How'd you even get into it? What made you say I'm going to be a dog trainer?
So growing up, I actually only had one dog as a kid, and I didn't have it for more than a year. But I always had an interest in animals.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was like 11 or 12. I volunteered at the zoo. Got denied. I was the only person of color in that room. And got older, and I went through a bunch of careers, and I was like, what did I always want to do as a kid? And literally, no lie, a commercial came on about going to college to become a dog trainer, dog groomer, or a veterinarian. And I was like, I'm not going back to school. I did that. I played college baseball, and college just wasn't for me. So I Googled how to become a dog trainer, and Petco came up. And it took me from there.
Get the hell out of here! Really? First of all, I didn't realize you played. I didn't realize you played baseball. Get out of here!
Yeah.
What position did you play?
I'm a left-handed pitcher.
Oh, lefty! All right, southpaw coming right down the pike at you. Okay, that's a tricky.
Little bit.
It's a tricky dude for you, man.
couple of tricks. It don't have to be hard. It's gonna be tricky though.
So you decide you're gonna get into dog training. The first time that you took on a client and you had to charge him, I mean, were you nervous about it? What were you thinking when you're like, okay, I'm about to ask somebody to pay me so that I can train their dogs?
Now, that's a really good question. Because I was living in Lafayette at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so Petco made me the head trainer as soon as I got out of training with my mentor who had 30 years. And she was moving, so they made me the head trainer. And I was like, no, I can do this by myself because I can take on what I want instead of everything that walks in Petco. So, goodness, you know what? I was working as a bather at a really, really nice spot in Lafayette, Park Avenue. And they just kept pushing me as their dog trainer. They really helped me a lot and grow. And my first client, we had a conversation in Park Avenue. She was like, you know what? Come on. Like, let's go. And she asked me my prices. I mean, pricing really wasn't too hard. A lot of people didn't expect free except for family and friends.
The usual
but
suspects.
Even then, exactly. Even then, like I did it for free because I was like, I'm just getting started. At least it's going to help me get my name out there. I find now everybody wants to charge the average rate when they're just starting. You can't do that. You have to build a name for yourself. If you tell me, hey man, I'm just starting cutting hair,
Hmm.
and you charging me what I'm already paying my barber, I might as well just keep going to my barber. I don't want to pay somebody new who might screw up.
Yeah, yeah.
So you kind of have to build, but instant gratification is a thing nowadays with social media.
Yeah, but with you, it sounds like what you did. It sounds like you were realistic, and
Yeah.
you knew who you were. You knew that you were new to the game, so you charged whatever the modest beginner type of rate is, and then you were able to build from there. So that is rare though for people to be that realistic though.
Yeah, it is. I think it's just because that's where I come from, man. Like my parents growing up, we weren't we were well off. I'll say that. My dad was a store manager when Walmart first became big. He
Mm,
used to work at Schwagman. My mom was a paramedic, so we were pretty well off, but my parents made us work for everything. So
mm,
my brother and I, we both started from the bottom and just worked our way up until we got to where we wanted. And we realized like you can't just come out and say, well, hey, this is what I'm doing. You got to pay me the full price of whatever you're paying somebody else. You got to start building a name for yourself. You might have to take some people on for free. You never know. But
yeah.
eventually you grow that name to where you can charge the average price. I think my prices now are probably about $300 to $400 higher now.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and I haven't touched my prices in about 2 or 3 years.
Hmm.
Everybody's telling me I should go up, but I mean we're in inflation, man, and realizing people need dog training.
Hmm.
Some people say dog training is a luxury, but it's kind of a need for somebody. Like imagine if you had to handle Allegra who was aggressive towards other people or dogs. I mean,
Yeah.
at that point, it's either she's going to kill somebody or you can handle getting a trainer. So
Hmm.
that's where I'm at as far as I should, but I'm kind of at that fine line where I'm probably not for a while.
So you know what, I do want to park it right there because I'm interested in the word need that you used, and in my case I think you're right because so for context for anyone who doesn't know, Halima and I have a 90 some odd pound Rottweiler who's about to turn 2 years old, and she is the sweetest thing in the world, but we have seen we have seen where she's ready to like get at somebody she doesn't trust. So
All right.
is that what you center that word need on, the fact that dogs can be, well, any pet honestly, but dogs can be unpredictable, so people need to really understand their dogs? Is that where the word need comes from?
Yes, it comes from need, as in that aspect of, I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they are animals. You can't tell me my dog's not my son, but to see him in protection mode, when I've had to trigger it in the past, it's scary. Like,
Yeah.
because the eyes change, the teeth, the canines are showing. And a lot of people think that's a game, but imagine one of your neighbors might have a dog who's like that every day and they're harboring a fugitive or they're walking it late at night when nobody might be outside.
Mm,
Those kinds of
mm,
people are the people that we get who it's a need at this point. Their grandchildren can't come over. People
mm.
can't come over. Or they got to put the dog away, and realistically, that's not the best thing for the dog. So that's why I said like need, because people have dogs like that, and they either hide them or they give them away. It's a bunch of different things that we deal with, and I'm a realistic person. At the end of the day, you have to make a decision. If the dog bites one of your kids or something, it's a realistic decision you have to make at some point.
You're listening to For Our Edification. I'm Eddie Francis, and we're talking to Wilfred Hester. He is Woofred of Woofred Dog Training. So, all right, when you started working with me and Halima, and for
Mhm.
anybody who's listening, I am deliberately phrasing it this way. When Wilfred started working with me and Halima, um, I remember you alluding to training as being more for people than the dogs. So without naming names,
Mhm.
first of all, why is that for your philosophy to really focus on training the people? But then also, can you think of a case where you had a client who, when you started working with them, it just looked like they didn't really see the connection. But then as you went on, you saw that growth between them and their dog.
Oh, so the first part of that question, it's for people because I have a lot of cases where the dog acts a certain way with me and a certain way with their parent. And that's because dogs, they have to trust you. They have to have
Mhm.
enough confidence with you that if something comes up and it hits the fan, that you have their back. And
Yeah.
if you don't, they have to save their own lives. I tell people every day that everybody, on the human side, isn't meant to be a business owner. So
Mm-hmm.
think about your dog. Every day they got to run the household. If you're not taking up for them when the kids are getting on their nerves and things like that, they feel like, well, I got to have my own back. And dogs don't say, "Hey, stop." They growl, they
Yeah.
snap, they bite. So that's where things get worse. But you give that dog to somebody who knows how to handle them, that they can trust and have confidence in. The dog's like, man, it's a breath of fresh air. I don't have to have my own back.
Mm-hmm.
And watch everybody else's too, because it's not just them they're worried about. They feel like they got to protect the whole house. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody has to stay in their place. Depending on what breed you have, they're more headstrong than others. And
Mm-hmm.
as far as the second part of the question,
Yeah,
um,
somebody who you saw blossom, and they were blossom with their dog.
man, I can shout out a lot of my parents. Y'all specifically. And the thing is, I'm saying y'all because y'all are here, but it's kind of like a light bulb that hits at a certain point in that session.
Yeah.
And normally, I hate to see it, but most people, that light bulb clicks when they're at their breaking point and they're like, I'm tired of it. And I hate to see it get to that point,
Yeah.
but sometimes people get to that point and the light bulb finally clicks.
You know what? It's funny. I mean, all right. So here's the funny part to me. And I don't know. This is the part where I would have a hard time being a dog trainer. The way people name their dog sometimes, and then they start begging them.
Ah,
Like if somebody names a dog Aphrodite, and they're just like, Aphrodite, stop, Aphrodite, stop, Aphrodite,
yes, I get some names, man. I get some names, and I'm like, what? It's weird for me to say them.
stop.
I have one. So you've been on our app before,
Yeah.
and I was looking, and it said Prince N.I. It was like an N name, and I'm like, what does this say? And I finally get in contact with Mr. Jason, and we're talking. He's like, oh yeah, JoJo, and I'm like, that's not how you say that name. I still don't know how to pronounce this dog's real name, but I just call him JoJo. Like that's it. Because I can't say that name. I have so many Bows and Roos. Everybody gets a doodle. They name it Bow or
Wait,
Roo.
there are a lot of doodles.
Yeah, I get a lot of doodles.
Wait, a lot of dogs named Doodle.
Oh, I get that too.
Oh, okay,
I've had
okay,
that
okay,
too.
okay. All right,
Or I'm
got you.
saying like golden doodles. People
Oh,
name them Bo and Roo, and I'm like, can
yeah.
we
See,
just get a normal, like a regular name? Like my dog's name is Kobu. I've
yeah,
only ran past that name in his 8 years of being with me 3 times, and I love it. Like I love the fact that I'll probably rarely run into that name. I
yeah.
wanted to stick to a Lion King theme and name my next dog Nyla, but I hear so many Nylas that I'm like, nope, not doing it.
Yeah, so anybody who has a doodle, don't at me and don't email me asking me how ignorant I could be. Okay, so I'm sorry, I just did not know. All
Oh
right,
my.
so
They know.
let me ask you this: what have you learned about yourself?
That don't like humans. No, I'm just playing. Um, that I'm more patient than I think.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes I find, and I think about this on a daily basis of if I can be this patient at work, I need to bring that same patience home
Hmm.
with whether it's my kids, my wife, like all those things. I need to bring that same patience to my house because
Yeah.
it's not fair that I go to work and I'm telling the dog sit 10 times, but then I come home and I expect everything to be done.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say it's something that I struggle with. I do just fine with it, but I keep that kind of at the forefront of my brain when I find myself getting frustrated about something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, think about it and take a step back sometimes.
Mm. You
And
know, I told you I've had, you know, and this is something I shared with Will when we were talking one day is I have really learned about a lot about myself working with Allegra because one of the things I realized about myself is that I really, really have to learn how to dedicate more time to stuff I care about. And that is the biggest lesson I've learned in training her and you know working with you. So I thank you for that, man, because
that's no problem.
that is something that I just had never thought about with myself. I was just going along and going along and going along and one day when I realized that Allegra and I actually have a relationship, I was like, okay, I put in the time and look at how things are turning out right now.
Exactly. And I mean, even for me, I realized that dogs will point out every flaw that you have in
Yes.
character.
Yes,
So
they
my
do.
dog, he shows me if I don't train him at least, I mean, he's older now, so once or twice a week, he'll expose me and say, "Hey, you've been inconsistent," and he'll expose me. He'll take
Mm.
off out the door and be gone. Now, luckily, like I can call him back and he listens, but he's like, "All right, let me put you out there," because I train other dogs more than my own. Just like any other professional, the lawn guy, he probably cuts everybody else's grass, but his grass is probably through the roof.
Mhm.
So I have that same situation, but it's about like what you do when you realize it. That's what I found.
Mm, mm.
Um, and sometimes I got to keep that at the forefront of my brain because these dogs are at my house and my dog stares at me like, "You taking him out before me?" So
Exactly.
I give him like the privilege of a lot of stuff. Like he's the first one out in the morning. And I have a certain time that I don't touch my boarding trains or boarders until a certain time in the morning. And then because I want him to have his yard, his chill time, because he don't like being out there with all them dogs and running around and playing. He will literally go out there and sunbathe for 20, 30 minutes.
Hmm.
Don't let the weather be nice. He'll stay outside for 2 hours. So I give him that time, but also like if it's a 20, 30 minute thing, and I know it's one of those days where he's going to be out for an extended period, I let my other dogs out because they need to go out first. I can kind of hustle some of them, give them some free time in the house, and then give him his time outside. He can just chill outside while they're roaming inside with me.
Hmm.
So it's a balancing act.
One of the things that I know you're passionate about is you are passionate about helping young people understand what it's like to be a business owner. Why is that?
Just because, I mean, I see it on a good bit of basis of, like I said, they feel everything is it's a given. It happens in 2 days. Just instant gratification is so real now with social
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
Um, Back then, I mean, I didn't have that. All I knew was hard work and you get it how you live, and it's something might come out of it if you work hard enough. But now, like people look at Instagram and they see pictures and videos of other people, and they think, "Oh, well, if I start this, it's gonna happen overnight."
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's really not that way. I have a cousin. I mean, he's trying to do like the Bitcoin and NFTs and all this stuff, but he also wants to have a detailing business. So since the detailing business isn't growing as fast as he wants, he's going to all that other stuff. And I'm like, bro, that the hard work has been around since we started life.
Hmm.
All this other
Hmm.
stuff is just pop ups, and some people get lucky, some people don't.
Yeah.
But with
Yeah.
anything, like you do have to work hard, and I feel that's a big reason for depression and anxiety and stuff because you're looking at other people that's your age and you're like, man, I need to be there. But you don't know how long they've been working at whatever it is. I mean, I'm 8 years in and I'm still not where I want to be. I mean, I'm able to take care of my family and stuff, but I still want to grow some more. Um, and I used to look up to my brother, be like, man, I need to be where he is. He runs Outback in Jacksonville and he's 2 years older than me.
Hmm.
But I had to constantly watch that. And then certain age, I realized, man, I'm not in a race with him. I can watch him and follow in his footsteps. But 2 years of life is a big thing.
Hmm. That's really interesting, though. The fact that you focus on how people will lean on social media as something that they can use to grow a business. But when I was doing marketing and communications, the university level, I actually ran into the same thing where people wanted to build a plan on social media exposure, and I was just like, well, social media exposure is good. It's a tool, but it's not where you want to build your existence because people are just
Nope.
way too fickle. People are way too fickle. And so I find it really interesting that part of it sounds like part of your commentary is listen, at some point you're going to have some kind of human interaction and you're going to have to
Yes.
actually go after it, and you're going to have to actually work with customers and get to know customers and that sort of thing, because that is a grind. It's not a thing that's going to happen tomorrow.
Right. And you know what I realized is I tell my daughter this all the time, and I mean, you can kind of vouch for it, is think about how long Instagram reels are, or how long I think the average attention span is like 20 seconds or something like that,
If that long. I mean, I've heard people
if
say it's
that
like
long.
I've heard 0.8 seconds in some cases. I mean, so people just go fast.
Yeah. So imagine, I mean, you see me train. You know what I could do to a dog in 15 seconds
Yeah.
of a video.
Hmm.
Imagine if I just post that. I look like the best dog trainer in the world.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's not the case. I mean, I know that there's more to it in my
Yeah.
industry. And I think even y'all came to me from word of mouth. And I love
Hmm.
the fact that my business thrives off of word of mouth. And I don't really need social media. I use it for what it's worth, but I don't get too much interaction from social media. And I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me because that takes kind of like a job off of my plate. I can post whenever the hell I want. But what I do want to start doing is kind of like I find I like that I'm private to myself.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, the thing is, people are nosy and they want to see what you're doing with your life. So like, I want to start giving people like little tidbits here and there on like my day-to-day procedures and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but not too much. Just keep people guessing still, but that's something that I kind of set out to be a goal
Hmm.
recently to kind of give people something to watch. I mean, I just had a baby. I plan on getting a puppy hopefully soon. So like those are the kind of things that YouTube people and all that stuff they start and get big off of. So I'm like, let me give it a shot and not be lazy.
Okay, so I got two big questions for you. This is probably
What you
one of
got?
those questions a lot of people want to know. I'm sure people want to know, how many dogs do you actually have?
I only have one.
Yeah, okay, all right.
And
So
there,
for everybody thinks he has like a posse of dogs at the house. No, he has one. All right, there we go.
come here too.
And
So
the other question, oh, we're about to meet him. Oh, we're about to meet him.
nah, he's probably in the kitchen sniffing my burgers.
Oh, okay, yeah, he has other stuff he needs to do.
That's
Okay,
why he's
so
not coming.
so the other question, big question, and the last question, and I think this is probably the most important question. Somebody is having that conversation like I had a couple of years ago. Hey, we're gonna get a dog. We're gonna get a dog. What do people need to know before they get a dog?
Do your research on whatever it is that you want, and be realistic if you're going to be able to maintain it.
Mm,
People, the biggest things people are looking at right now are golden doodles and Frenchies.
yeah, yeah.
Golden doodles are extremely active, and if yeah, you're not going to have the hair in your house, but you're going to be paying about 120 uh twice a month maybe, or once
Mm,
a month at least to get a groom. And one of the best groomers, they're gonna charge you more than 120.
mm.
Um, and that's if you want a good cut. Don't go to the groomer that's charging you $60 for a doodle cut because your dog gonna be chopped up. But also like on the other hand with Frenchies, we're not really fans of those in the pet industry. If you look at any trainer or groomer or anything, they don't have a Frenchie because of the fact that first of all, the short snout, you can't really do nothing with that because they can't breathe.
Yeah.
They're I mean, I've heard people spend $10,000 on those dogs. But
Wow.
then on top of that 10,000, you got to spend probably another three to get the surgery they need to be able to breathe.
Oh,
They have a
wow.
ton of allergies. I mean, it's crazy the money that you put out on those dogs after you bought the dog. And they're just, I mean, I don't want to, nothing against them, but it's like they can't do anything for me. Like a German Shepherd, they're going to protect. The Australian Shepherd, that's going to be a herd dog. Like we need work dogs. And I don't even want to say need, but like if you think about a little bitty Chihuahua, I mean, they're lap dogs. They don't really have like a purpose in working per se, but at least that dog isn't going to require so much maintenance to where you're coughing out money, and Frenchies really don't live that long. So
Mm.
people go along with whatever the trend is. Another trend is Corsos. People don't realize Corsos are bat crazy. If you if you don't socialize them, they are crazy.
You know what? A cousin of mine got one, and he said the thing just ran to the fence one day and just ran right through it.
Hmm.
I
And
was like,
that's
you that friggin' panther did that because those things are huge.
that's a decent case. I've had Corsos that like I'm talking crazy to where they will flick out and
Oh
get
wow.
aggressive because they require so much socialization. They're scared of everything, and some people think it's cute.
Oh wow.
People, it's normally our people that are like, well, I don't want my dog to meet everybody because I want him to be protective of the house and this, that, and the other. That's the worst mindset you can have because you'll just have to put them up for everybody now instead
Mm,
of the dog realizing, oh, this is a bad situation. I've been in plenty of good situations. I don't like this. Let me bite you.
mm, mm,
So, kind of like a well-rounded dog. My dog, I mean, he's cool as could be. Anybody could walk into this house.
mm.
But if you touch somebody or you kind of look like you're not supposed to be here, that's when his intuition kicks in. He's like, oh, this weird. And if I'm not here, you by yourself.
Mm. So yeah, so people really, and I will say that is one thing Halima did that saved us a lot of headaches. I mean, she did a lot of homework on dogs, and and my son, this kid, he just wanted to find the most expensive doggone dogs he could possibly find. And I was just like, you don't have money,
Oh my
boy. I mean,
God.
I was like, you are out of the conversation.
Oh my
You are
God.
out of the selection process. And so, yeah, so we got our beautiful Allegra and we are cool.
Don't let the kids pick out the dog.
Yeah.
God.
We
My
tried
mom did it, and that dog was gone in a year. Skittles, Skittles is gone.
And Wilfred Hester is the owner and founder of Woofred Dog Training. And Will, thank you so much for joining me on For Our
No problem.
Edification.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.
So here are my big three. The big three things that I took away from this conversation with Will. First, the thirst for instant gratification distorts vision. Clearly, in talking to Will, you could hear it, I could hear it, that instant gratification is something that grates his nerves. Here's a man that I think it grates his nerves so much because he is so used to the grind, right? And with him being so used to the grind, that helps him stay focused on what he wants to accomplish. The second thing is this: connect to life. One thing that Will kept drilling into my head and Halima's head as we were training Allegra is that the dog feeds off of our energy. And in general, he talks about how dogs feed off of people's energy. I think that's true of all living things, right? Because if you think about it, the energy that we give a lot of times is the energy we're going to get right back. Here's the third thing. Know the capacity that you have to fit things in life. I picked that up too in talking to Will. That last question that I asked him about what people should know before they get a dog, it was honestly a really practical question, But I got an answer that I think went so much deeper. I got so much more out of that answer. You can hear from him that he believes that too many people will pick dogs based on trends. I mean, I see it, and I'm sure you see it too, right? And it's not whether or not they have the capacity to actually care for the type of dog that they want. But we can really apply that to a lot of things in life. I mean, do you have the capacity to purchase that item, right? Do you have the capacity to have certain types of people in your life, the emotional capacity, the mental capacity to have certain types of people in your life, and sometimes the financial capacity? What about the hobbies that we choose to pursue? Do we have the capacity for that? The jobs even that we choose to pursue, do we have the capacity for certain types of jobs and other things in our lives that we make these choices about? If you think about it, and I've experienced this, if you're taking on too much, then you really are no good to the things or the people that you care most about. So many thanks to Will Hester for joining us for our edification. Check out past episodes of the podcast by going to eddiefrancis.com. You can also check out for our edifications past episodes, at least a few of them on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So download, give feedback, and share. So for Dr. Halim Malik Francis, I'm Eddie Francis. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of For Our Edification.